is Bear Siragusa, and you are listening to the Hunting Hound podcast presented by W Hunting Supply. All right. How you doing, George?
Doing good.
Good. Thanks for coming and joining me tonight. It's been a minute since we talked.
It's been a while. I think it's been close to a year, probably.
Close to a year, probably. Yeah. Yeah, because I think the last time we talked was before you moved.
Yes.
For sure. Because you moved from. Did you move states or just counties?
I moved just counties. Honestly, distance-wise, I really didn't move. I moved just over a mountain. Just changed county lines pretty much. Just moved to the opposite side of the mountain.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. What motivated the move?
So it come to find out, and so in the my previous county, the county that I lived in before, here in Virginia, they ended up having a dog. Long story short, it's a dog limit or a hound limit. I might not, don't quote me on all this, but basically, I'll just back up. Long story short, I got a notice in the mail saying that I had a complaint about malnourished dogs, malnourished equine, which that was Cletus, all my mule family.
Right.
I'll just go and jump right into it. So basically, I got that. They sent some officials out. Of course, the officials, there's no problem. My hounds are well taken care of.
Oh, absolutely.
Have a great.
I mean, you can see that in any. You don't even need to go farther than your YouTube videos to see that. I mean, it's not like it's hard to document that your hounds aren't starving.
Yeah, and basically, I have a great relationship with my vet. That he had documentation, backed up everything. On the side of the mules, the dogs, all that. I was good to go, but it come down to the one thing that was a problem. It come to find out we have basically a dog limit of max of 4 dogs for the amount of property that I have or had, not have anymore. But
wow.
So
wow.
Of course, I really didn't think it was a really big deal. I mean, I had no consideration of moving, wasn't thinking of moving or anything. And, but when I went to actually talk to the officials, I found out that pretty much I was stuck. There was, other than getting some major rules changed, which that was going to involve court and all kinds of stuff, that I wasn't willing to go to them steps. I was pretty much stuck with the only option of either moving the hounds off the property or possibly lose the hounds to the county or move.
Wow. Yeah,
it was a pretty serious deal for us then. So
yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I can only imagine, or I guess I moved across the world with my dog, so I know a little bit of what you're going through, but still, I mean, that's when I did it, it was like I did it because I chose to do it. There was no unfair bureaucratic BS making me do it. That's terrible.
And honestly, it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't really the dog, the actual local dog warden. It wasn't really his fault. If anything, he spoke up for me. It just basically come down to some laws that our county had stuck in there that us as houndsmen hadn't really paid any attention to. It snuck by us, and of course, it caught up with me. So,
wow,
yeah.
Wow. So you became like the sacrificial lamb for this whole this particular
to a certain law. Maybe that makes me sound a little bit, but uh, that's what I kind of felt like.
Yeah. Kind of catching you on a technicality and just going hog wild with
Right,
it.
right.
That's terrible. Okay, so you moved to a different county on the other side of a mountain.
So it ended up. There's my eyes was open till there's a lot of good people still in this world, because when all that went down, a lot of
Mm,
the locals heard about it. Was trying to come up with options where I could stay there, and that wasn't an option. Well, I say that I could have. There was people that was offering to, to take a few of my dogs here and there, keep them, but I knew reality was I wasn't going to get up every morning to go hunting and go to 10 different people's, houses to pick up a dog.
right.
So I
Right.
immediately put the house on the market. I think within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it was sold. And in the meantime, there was a houndsman that was across the county line, and he offered up me his property just to use free of charge. Um, it bailed me
Wow.
out. I'll forever be grateful. He called it his camp, but it was a nice little log house. Um, like I say, it
Hmm.
was in the camp style, or it's still in the camp style. That's to this day, that's still where I'm living as of right now.
Hmm.
But um,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Yep.
he offered it right up to me. It was sitting on a little bit of acreage where I could move. I basically moved the mules, the equine, the horse, everything. I moved the dogs all over there. Um, Moved over. Me and my wife moved in his little cabin, and right now we're still in the process of shopping, or either for land, or basically a house with land, or just land and possibly going to build. So we're still up in where we're going to
Sure.
end up exactly at. So
Cool. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I love. Yeah. Depending on the kindness of
well,
you know the people around you is.
especially in this circumstance, I mean, I, the guy, which I know him really good now. I mean, obviously, but at the time, I
Mm,
didn't even. I mean, I know him enough to say hi at the gas stations. If it's the same, we knew each other's names. Um,
sure.
but far as as far as I asked him, I don't even know really to this day, exactly. He's I reckon I'm stuttering around all this stuff, but basically his was
No. No.
he's like, I can just tell you're decent people, so I feel comfortable letting you use my cabin. So
Good. That's excellent. That's excellent. That's good. That's good karma right there. That's you know having you know
what
someone
and
looking out for you.
goes,
That's great.
I think even that. I mean, like they say, what goes around comes around. So
Mm,
him, the helmsman that I'm talking about, and his buddy, they hunt together all the time. Probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, we had met. It was a snowy day. We had found a bear track across the road. We had found it at a separate
mm,
location than what him and his buddy had found it. Um,
mm,
Long story short, we ended up with all our dogs on the same track, and we ended up getting the bear
mm.
treed, and helped one of the houndsmen and his son, harvest the bear, drag it out, not knowing that 3, 4, 5 years later, I would be, living in the house, our neighbors, and it's just crazy how all that works.
That's that's cool. That's really cool. That's great. And you have a son.
Easton, yes, sir.
Yeah. Did he have to change schools and all that stuff moving out of the county, or was he able to kind of stay?
So
How did that work out for
my
you?
wife had been playing around with the homeschooling. I say playing around; she's been doing it pretty
Hmm.
seriously. So that ended up not being a big issue. She just
Good.
continued the
Yeah.
homeschooling once we moved over there. So that wasn't really too big of a deal.
Good. Yeah. No, I was homeschooled, so that it's not a bad way to go, especially if you have other interests. Like in my case, it was the sled
Right.
dogs. But he seems like he's pretty jazzed to be out there with you, which is cool to see.
He's pretty. My wife and I, we talked about, is homeschooling gonna I don't know necessarily that was meaning hold him back, but is it going to, keep him from interacting? But we're pretty active in our local church, and then just in the hunting world, and
Hmm.
then it, I reckon our life in general. We're with people, around people, interaction with people a lot. So he has no problem with that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that was a concern my folks had as well. But, they enrolled me in Boy Scouts and, we did a bunch of different things. So, yeah, got the socialization that I probably
Right.
needed. But at the same time, it gave me the freedom to, as long as I got my schoolwork done, which, rather than dragging it out over a 6 hour school day, I was, most of the days was able to get it done in 2.5
Right.
hours. And I had the rest of the day to do pretty much whatever I wanted, which I think was really positive because I was able to kind of deep dive into some skills that I wanted to, that interested me then, that I'm very happy that I know how to do now. Like, like we were talking about before we hit record,
Right.
butchering.
Exactly.
I learned to do that when I was 10.
Well, and for Easton, it's nice because he can, he goes hunting with me way more than what he would, of course, be able to in public schools. So
Right.
he can typically do a week's worth of school in like 3 days. So
Yeah.
it gives him a lot of free time to be able to hunt and fish and whatever all we get into.
Cool. That's really cool. Um, but you're able to still hunt the same areas. You kind of are able to keep the same group of guys around you. You're despite the move.
Yeah, the move, if anything, was probably a better location for actual the hunting. Um,
Hmm.
I'm another 20 minutes from town, which added, for me to get into good phone service, nearest Walmart and all that, I'm probably close to an hour away.
Hmm.
But that to us ain't no big deal. I can go right out of my backyard and go hunt or riding the mules, whatever. So that ain't we're backed up
Right.
against national forests. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
so it's
Nice.
honestly the whole deal with the house. Honestly, I fully believe is a blessing in disguise.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. That's great. I'm really glad to hear that. That's because that's a you know I think that it's a blessing in disguise is probably partially because it's worked out, but I'm betting that it's worked out because you had a good attitude about it. If you went into it with like this is the end of the world, probably would have been the end of the world. But it sounds like you kind of rolled with the punches a little bit and were able to make take some lemons and make some lemonade.
yeah, because don't get me wrong, there is times, there's always times when something don't go just right or whatever, and you think about, man, yeah, I could be back over at my old piece of property. It's for us, it's
Right.
weird living in somebody else's house, yeah, and then
Sure.
still, I think the unknown, because like I say, we don't know when a property is going to come available, we don't know exactly where we're going to end
Mm.
up. So yeah, if you think about that too
Hmm.
much, it will it'll get you down a little bit. But
Yeah.
from the start, another thing that helps is my wife's on board with all this. So all
Mm.
in all, it's like I say, I fully believe it's going to end up in the better for the long run.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, with that attitude, it
Right.
definitely will. You know, uh, it's it's I I'm a pessimist from nature's side, and find that when I'm looking real pessimistic at things, they usually don't turn out that good. So if I actively work on being positive about it and being like, all right, this will work out fine, usually it does.
Well, I'm anything. I
So
might be opposite. I my wife. She says I don't worry about a thing, and that's probably to a certain extent true.
gotcha. Well, I mean, it's a good. You don't waste much time then worrying about it because that's what worrying is. I think for the
Yeah,
very most part, a complete and total waste of time.
right.
So, but was there Was there like barns and corrals and kennels and things all squared up for you at this new place, or did you have to just kind of set up everything
And
real
they
quick?
had a lot of stuff there. I did throw. They didn't have a specific place for the horses, the equine, all that. No, it was a big pasture field there. But
Mm.
what I did was just go in there with some electric. Took me 2 hours, throw some post in, and I, of course, immediately I just kind of rigged it up. But now that I was thinking 2, 3, 4 weeks we'd be out of there, and now a year later we're still sitting there. So yeah, I've made a few changes while we live there, but it's worked great. I mean,
Yep,
there's nothing wrong with
that's
it.
great.
So it's a
That's great.
little bit of adjustment. There is no cell, no, like there's no service. There's a landline that works most of the time, but the net,
Hmm.
which we never really had the TV or anything like that anyway, so that wasn't really that bad. But we don't have. There's no cell, there's no internet, there's no TV, there's nothing. So
Right. Right. How does that work for you? I mean, because you're, the
the whole
Mountain Music and
whole
Mules.
YouTube
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. How's that working out?
That there I gotta drive, like I say, to do this interview I had to drive about an hour to get there.
Wow.
So but now up where I live, right up the road from the house, there's a little place where they we just call it the dump. There's a little place where you can go throw your bag trash, the locals doing stuff, and they keep some Wi-Fi there. So you can pull up in your vehicle, hook to the Wi-Fi, and make a quick phone call or something if you need to. But the
Okay.
Wi-Fi isn't good enough to do YouTube or anything like that. So I usually end up driving about, it's 45 minutes to an hour, get to either a local like McDonald's or my parents'
Hmm.
house that I can get a little bit of internet service there. So
Sure. 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 Yeah. Wow. That's it adds some. That adds an extra
it
step to the YouTubing.
it definitely adds to the YouTubing for sure. No, life in general,
Mm.
I could probably stay without internet and all that and be. I mean,
Mm.
it was a bit of adjustment when we first moved in, but there's times you almost hate to get in cell service. Too much dread.
Yeah. I know that. I know that feeling. If it wasn't for this podcast, um, I would not. I would be a non-entity on social media.
Exactly.
I'd be gone.
I try to stay up with the social media and stuff, but it's just not me. I struggle.
Yeah, it's my issue with it at this point is that it's not me. I don't like it. I begrudge every second I've got to be on there. But it's where everything happens. It's where all of the social things, like anything happening with my kids' classrooms or my kids' classes or anything like that, it's all put on
Right.
social media. So if I'm not in there, at least once a day just to check. They're going to miss birthday parties and gatherings and, things like that. And I'm going to miss things because everything is, it's like things don't happen anymore if they don't have a Facebook event,
Right.
and, yeah, no, it's, necessary evil, but, yeah, having a drive for it, definitely, it must make you a little bit more deliberate about how you use your time on the internet,
That's
you know,
true. Yeah.
a little bit less of the scrolling just to scroll sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm typically, it used to be once in a while I'd sit down and actually watch something on YouTube. That don't really
Hmm.
happen anymore. I'll try to get on there and try to catch up on some of what the other hunters are doing, or what. But
Mm,
typically, it's more put a video up and then I'm back out of service, and then I'll try to get back and look at
right.
how the video is doing and answer, basically do some replies and all that good stuff. But
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. How how's your pack doing after, like during the big move, after the big move? How did that all work out for
I,
you?
just different place they get dog food now. They don't really care. They
They
don't
don't
really
really
care.
care.
They get in uh, their habits changed a little bit as far as they had a weird habit and I let them get by with it. But it used to be when my hunt was over, they could sense the hunt was over. And when I'd get about a mile away from my driveway, some of them would start yipping a little bit, or, they'd start, a couple of them would start barking because um, I just had a routine. When I get home, it's feeding time, whatever time I
Mm,
get home, it's feeding time. It was
right.
a weird thing that I let them get by with, and I kind of looked forward to it because you just, you get about a mile from home, they'd start barking. So, like I say, that
Yep.
that changed a little bit for them, but other than that, they could care less.
Good. That's cool.
I guess
That's cool. What is how have they changed? How's your pack changed the last year or so? Because you've had some litters and things like that,
I
haven't
went
you?
through. Let's see. Did so? I had a year ago. I had Scruffy. I can't.
Oh, you definitely had Scruffy, but I don't think Scruffy had gone on his Don Juan rampage there.
So I had a litter of. I've had a couple litters, but the first litter I had of Scruffy, my mountain feist, and he
Hmm.
bred, which it was not planned, but he bred one of my English hounds. So I
Hmm.
kept one or two pups from them, I believe, and
Hmm.
I thought I was on to something great. I mean, because they was like 6 months old. These little rascals are. I mean, they're hitting off the truck. I mean, they're little old boogers, but they're hitting off the truck. They're making all the trees, and when I say all the trees, I'm talking about in the
Wow.
10-mile run. Them little boogers are making chases,
Wow.
and they're chopping trees. I get there and they're
Wow.
just chopping. So I thought I'd just done found the new latest greatest bear dogs.
Right. Right.
Um, after a month or so, I'd noticed off and on I'd get to a tree and something wasn't just right. I could tell somewhere. So finally I started. And when I say something's just right, I reckon as a houndsman you can hear when something is wrong or they're not treeing just right. But into the
Okay.
tree and I wouldn't really see nothing. I would, once in a while you'd see a mark on a dog, but not just a scratch, nothing serious. But I knew
Okay.
something wasn't right. So finally I snuck into, um, dogs treed beside, not far from the road one day, and I just got the wind right, snuck in there and just watched them for a little bit, and finally found out the source of my problem was them little feist hound crosses. They took face barking to another level. It was, and my,
Hmm.
they it probably, if it had been somebody else's hounds that wasn't familiar with them, it'd have probably turned into an all out dog fight. But
Right.
my hounds were somewhat used to them, so it never progressed to that. Uh, but they, like I say, the face barking, and to explain that out, they was just barking in the hound's face. They would tree on the tree when I got there,
Right.
so I wouldn't catch it. But when I wasn't there, they was barking in the other hound's face, and just getting too,
Hmm.
like I say, it wasn't no minor stuff. It was progressing and getting worse and worse. So,
Okay.
needless to
Yep.
say, I was forced to stop taking them. I wasn't taking any chances like that. So, my, yeah,
No, that's a tough one.
oh, it,
Yeah.
it hurt because they was, like I say, they actually, them little boogers, they had the speed of them feist, and then they would hang in there just like a hound. So they was actually running the front of the
Hmm.
chases and actually treeing. By the time I figured that all out, I think they was up about 8 months old, and they'd done treed multiple bear by themselves. I'd say by themselves
Wow.
they treed, but the other dogs come in there behind them. Yeah,
Sure. Wow. Wow.
so yeah,
Wow.
it
That's too
hurt.
bad.
Yeah, I didn't like having to move them on down the road, but that's
Yeah.
that's part of it. I've realized a long time ago I have to be honest with myself, or it ends up getting you in a pickle.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's, and yeah, the fighting at the tree, that's a no-go,
That's Yeah,
you know?
that's one thing which I think that I've been around enough other houndsmen that there's nobody that will, if you're a good houndsman, you're not going to let that get by. So I had to just be honest with myself, and like I say, it took me a little bit to figure out what was going on, because it wasn't. I'm probably making it sound worse than what it was, but I knew that it was going to progress to another level if I didn't do something about it, and I wasn't. Them
Right.
little feists, they're really smart. So there's a possibility I could have broke it, but I wasn't going to take that chance. It wasn't worth.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's not, I do not understand why anybody would want to take a chance like that. There are some dogs in this area that are hunted on
Right.
moose that, I have shot moose for. They associate me with things that they like, but still, if they bump into a hunter, including people on their team, they'll go in and
Right.
try and bite. They're just so geared. They're just so like keyed up that it's just like it's just like they blow a circuit or something and just lose it a little bit. And in the sled dog world, if you have a dog that when you're doing these passings, the trails aren't wide. The trails aren't often aren't any wider than like a snowmobile track, a double wide snowmobile track. If you have dogs that reach over and snarl or snap at the team passing you going in the other direction, that's that's a one way ticket to being real unpopular. So you just can't take the chances with stuff like that, and I just do not understand the people that do. It's obviously dogs need to learn, but they like my guys, they didn't get many
Right.
chances to make those mistakes because I can't afford it.
No, there's no way. I mean, it can
Mm.
get from a minor thing to end up being a very serious deal quick. Like I say, I don't know with the that hound feist. I'm assuming because Scruffy, he's full feist. There's nothing of that in him. I don't know if it's
Mm.
just that mixture, or I really don't know why it come out like that, but it was something I had to deal with.
Is anybody else running them on bear?
Let's see. I I talked to there's a guy that was north of me, and when I say north, I think he was up next to the Canadian border, and I think he had one of them, and he said he didn't have any problems. So, like I said, I don't know if I just happened to pick the two that did that. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's hard to say.
it happened.
It's
It
hard to
happened
say.
with them too, and then the last litter that Scruff was a part of. And when I say that, and why I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I got to think about it because he's probably the father of like 50 pups. He was, yeah,
Wow.
he wa- he's too smart. He knows how to open. He can open kennel doors. He can climb. He's very sneaky if need be. He
Okay.
made some way. He made a way. So finally, I reckon I should say too. Scruffy is not a man no more.
No, I picked up on that he was
Yeah,
he was removed of his
he is.
essence.
Yes, so I cured that. But
Yeah.
the last litter of pups he had, I kept one more to try it. And initially I had the exact same problem. I was aware of it, so I
Really?
made sure to stay on top of it. But same deal. The little pup, I still have her, Dolly. I use her for squirrels and stuff now. But
Hmm.
I never kept her to bear hunt, but she actually just hopped in my truck a couple days while I was bear hunting, and she would I think I had her on 3 or 4 chases, and all the chases she was at the tree, and I think 2 of the chases she possibly treed the bear. I ain't sure. She was way up in front. But
Wow.
saying
Wow.
that, I was a very, I was making sure I was being aware because I was, just from my past experiences, and yet same deal. She was too, at the tree,
Really?
too much in
Wow.
other dogs' faces.
Hmm. I wonder if it's just the energy of the
Maybe,
feist
I'm not sure.
just boiling over. Because I've experienced that same thing with like terrier
Okay,
crosses. That they've just got this streak of sort of
right.
hardness that doesn't always combine that well.
It's interesting, and
But
it's a shame because, um,
mm,
I mean, they them little boogers was perfect proof that size doesn't matter. I mean, they was
right.
Dolly, the little female that, like I say, the latest one that I had. I mean, she's probably a 20-pound dog. She can,
Mm,
I mean, she'll outrun my hounds no problem. And yeah,
right.
she's got
Right.
the speed in her, but she can also. I noticed with them few chases that I had with her. I mean, she would. I think one of the chases ended up being probably a 6 hour run, and she was still
Mm,
there at the end. So
wow.
if
Wow.
there was some
Mm.
way to get them to
Uh,
pack up together, and if there was some way to get them to get along, that would
yeah.
interest pack of bear
Hmm.
dogs.
That is interesting. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about size, and we were talking about uh, there's a beagle
Right.
female out west that treed some monster
Okay.
bear, um, all
Right.
by herself, and then they put a pack of like a pack of bear dogs on it, and it just ended up being this like walking
Right.
war. Refused to tree, just like
Right.
no way. There was just no way. But treed solid for this uh,
Really.
beagle.
Right.
And we were just talking about it and wondering whether there was something with the size, something with the size of the energy, or something that made the bear just kind of want to get away from it without feeling threatened enough to make it start getting kind of, aggressive and angry. And I wonder a little bit about it with the size. I've I with the Huskies, there's always this attitude that there's a very distinct
Right.
line where you can get to a certain point, but then where bigger is better. They can pull more, et cetera, et cetera. But you get to the sort of breaking point where you begin to kind of get diminishing returns, where the animal's using so much energy just moving its mass down the trail that it's not comparatively not contributing. And where I live here, it's so steep and it's so rocky and it's so uneven that I've seen a lot of the bigger hounds come here and get pretty
Right.
beat up. Whereas the dog that's by far been able to do the most distance, the most mileage, and actually moved in the steep sections, moves significantly faster than my bigger hounds is my
Oh,
beagle.
really?
He is much faster than either of my
Right.
plots were. And on full out sprint, obviously on flat ground they're going to
Right.
dust him. But he's just light enough, agile enough, and fit enough that he's just able to sort of buzz around while they're struggling to get over rocks and trying to keep their balance.
I I know with Scruff, going back to why does I think I've narrowed it down. I believe let's see. So let me back up a little bit. The the week before last, I believe, or maybe it was the week before that. I don't know. He probably treed 8 or 10 bear by himself, and that
Wow.
was the hounds either brought him to the road or he was in there with the hounds, but he would always gain 400 or 500 yards in front of the hounds. He'd show treed, and then my hounds would get in there behind him. But I believe, and I've turned him into a couple bear that's on the ground, and he'll have 5 hounds around it, and when he gets in there, he's this little bitty booger, but he'll pop up a tree. And
Yeah.
I fully believe I've
Hmm.
watched him enough. I think it's because some of the hounds will do it a little bit too, but he actually works the bear, and the hounds they'll get him bait up, and they'll stand around him barking. And if the bear goes to move, yeah, they'll try to block him or whatever. But
Hmm.
when
Sure.
Scruff gets in there, if he has the chance, he's got that bear spinning. I mean, just don't. He's all around it. Like he makes that bear. The bear's going to move. Something's going to happen.
Right.
And
Right. And yeah. Oh,
and
that's interesting. It's super
I've
interesting.
noticed too. He's not crazy. He's not like suicidal or anything. He'll usually stay
Right.
just he'll stay just close enough where he annoys the heck out of the bear. But and then of course the same thing. The bear, I've watched him do it a few times. The bear will lunge at him or swing a paw or whatever, and he just can't connect with Scruff. So it's so
Right.
annoying that he just goes and climbs up a tree.
It's what I'm wondering about. If yeah. It's what I wonder about. I wonder if it's the difference between being overwhelmed and feeling threatened. That they're just like, this is just, what the heck is going on? I cannot handle this right now. And they're just up a tree. They're just like, get me to that, get me away from this thing. Versus, okay, now I need to protect myself. Like throw down with these hounds,
I believe you're
kind of a
right,
deal.
because like I say, I've personally watched. The hounds will be standing around at a creek bank or something, barking at him, and all of a sudden here comes this little black ball flying in there, and he don't say a word. He don't bark at all until he's right in the bear's face. So
Right.
and then he's just all over it, dancing around, and then you can see a bear that's laying there or sitting there calm, all of a sudden turns into this spinning, whirling, and usually most of the time he ends up just climbing up a tree.
Right. Huh. This is interesting enough, so I'm going to want to think about this for a little bit longer before I make any conclusions about it. Because, it's over here, one of the more popular terrier breeds is the German Jagd Terrier.
Right.
And they're insane. They're insane. They're like miniature plots. They just they've got no sense of self-preservation.
Right.
Yeah, they're like plots on meth. They're just crazy. They're crazy. And they're not necessarily in a good way, but they're crazy enough so that they can use them on big game over here. So you've got these, whatever, 12, 13, 15 pound dogs that they'll use on the Eurasian wild, the Razorback wild boar. And it's the same deal as what you're describing, where, whereas a hound might kind of get in there and get a little too close and not be able to get out of the way, or a bulldog is going to go in there and just get its butt kicked while it's also wreaking havoc. They just go in and just harass these boars. I mean, so there's plenty of videos of where you get there and you just see this boar just spinning around in place, and it's it's the darndest thing. It seems like there's something about the energy that just freaks them out. I mean, kind of like like a hornet. I don't know. It's the darndest thing. Makes me wonder.
I was even I was going through a spell there, like I say, about 2-3 weeks ago, that every bear the hounds was running, they would, some of the bear would run 5 miles, 10 miles, half a day, and then I'd scruff on them and they'd be treed in like 3 minutes. So me and the couple guys that was with me, we was starting to debate, will we ever tree a bear if we don't have scruff?
Right.
Yeah, and it's amazing when I reckon for the people that haven't listened to, what would you call it, episode 1 of this, basically I had zero plans for Scruff to be a bear dog, and then just taking him along, he's then turned into the, I don't know, bear treeing little booger.
Wow. That's the darndest thing. And the litters that he had, they were with different females and stuff like that. It wasn't like a consistent.
Yeah, he had litters with 3 separate females, and 2 of the separate females I kept a pup or 2 out of just to try, and I had problems both.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, interesting. Wow.
I don't know. I talked. I know the previous. Basically, that the it's a good friend that owns Scruff's mom and dad, and they're just pure squirrel dogs. I mean, that's all they are. But he said, he's told me before that, there's possibly they're getting it from the problems I'm having with them pups could possibly be coming from the grandparents, or you can say, because squirrel hunting, you're only hunting 1 or 2 dogs, and he said he has seen where there's a little bit of there's no pack mentality in feists, or I can't speak for all feists. I'm not really a feist expert, but when you go squirrel hunting with my buddy, you turn loose basically you turn loose 3 feists, they're going to get treed on 3 separate squirrels, not together.
Right. Right. They're gonna go off in 3 different directions.
They're less about each other. So maybe that's something to do. I have no idea, but
it's interesting because I mean the idea of having trailing dogs and then bailing dogs, or trailing dogs and then treeing dogs is not it's not a new idea. It's, who was it? I guess it was Von Plott had, but I hope I don't get this wrong, because then I'm just going to get all these messages tonight, the night after this goes live, people being like, what are you talking about? It was I'm quite sure it was Von Plott that had an affection for Airedales.
Okay.
And, apparently he would bring them along, and a little, not that they would in really any way outperform his plots. That wasn't it. It was just that, they'd be kind of in there mixing it up. And then, there's a guy named Montague Stevens,
right,
who was a 1-armed British bear hunter out. He hunted grizzlies out west. And he had a little terrier that would help lead him to his pack. This was obviously way before GPS collars and things like that. He ended up training some hounds to do it later on, and a Great Dane at one point as well. But apparently the terrier was fairly... He experienced some of that same stuff, that like the terrier would run in there and the bear would just be like, what the heck? And get, and the grizzlies didn't necessarily, they didn't really tree, but he expresses in the book somewhere, sort of being surprised the degree to which the terrier was participating in the whole process. So it's an interesting thought that I would be very interested to see in practice here, because most people who have hounds that they hunt bear with, the bear season over here is so short that a lot of the people who have bear hounds, it's not uncommon that they'll also run their dogs on fox. And the fox is den, so most people who run their hounds on foxes, or a lot of them anyway, have den dogs or
Right.
terriers that they'll send down to flush out foxes. I would be really interested to see what the reaction would be if they sent their terriers in, or a
Right.
terrier in, on a aggressive brown bear.
Man, that would be neat. Just
It'd be interesting
yeah,
to see.
it's got my curiosity.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I may need to do some experimenting over here, and then we're going to have to sit down and talk about this again. if I've got a terrier left. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Those feists are an interesting breed.
It's so, like I say, I had no previous experience with them until Scruff, and I don't know if I have one of a kind or if a lot of them. I would love to know if there would be, because I don't really know anybody else that does what I do with him.
Right.
But
right, and he's had some close calls though. Like that one that was not that long ago. Just a video you put out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was.
Where a bear almost got him.
he pushed the limit there too far. Actually, I don't know if this episode will make it to YouTube, but actually this morning he pushed it a little too far.
Did he?
But he's the perfect little. I've always thought if there was somebody that couldn't walk really good, or just an older, a dog like Scruff would be perfect to just keep in the truck, because he only runs when you put him on. He only runs hot tracks, and when you put him on a hot track, he'll keep on going if he's convinced he's catching the bear. Then he'll go 2-3 miles if need be. If the bear, if he realizes that he's not catching the bear, he comes right back to the truck. So there's no.
Wow.
I mean, like you're either going to a bear tree or a caught bear, or he's going to be right back to the truck in 10 minutes.
Right. You're not going to need to go in there and get him. Right. That's so interesting. It's that is super interesting.
He went from a little dog that just rode around with me to now he's actually he's part of Mountain Music and Mules.
Right, part of the team. Yeah.
He's treeing probably 50% or more of the bear. Probably more. A little booger. But.
Wow, that's the darndest thing. So anybody listening to this that wants to get a feist and see if this is like the wave of the future, please do, and then let me know how it goes. Because this is, boy, that's super interesting though.
I've often thought about if Alex with the Lycus.
Yeah, with the Lycus.
I wonder if you had one, if he would hunt like Scruff style. You reckon?
Well, they use the Lycus quite a bit now as squirrel dogs. So one of my very early guests was Ronnie Snediger, who's a very well-known squirrel dog guy, super competitive, and he's got a Leica that he uses that is just as good as anything. I've talked quite a bit to Alex on Facebook. I'd love to have him on the podcast. Super interesting dude. His dogs, they are a little bit more what you're describing. They're much hotter nosed. It's got to be like fresh. I think he said like within the hour for his Lycas to want to do it, want to pick it up. But then, like his bears, they tree pretty quick as well. And I don't know enough about it. I've not hunted enough bear myself, and I've not hunted enough with the Leicas. I have hunted some with them over here. They use them on moose over here. But they're not as useful on the
Okay.
moose, because I think for the same reason that they're good at treeing bears is the moose they're not going to go up a tree. Their only option is to
Exactly.
run. So, if you get a dog that's going to be really in their face and make them feel really threatened, they're just going to run. But if you get a super annoying little thing that's making them feel overwhelmed, they're just going to run. So what you basically need is a dog that's going to find it and then be that perfect combination of annoying to keep its focus, but not so annoying that it feels like it needs to get away from you. So it would be interesting to hear, though. I don't know of anybody who have combined the two things. I don't know of anybody who runs both hounds and Leicas or that kind of dog. But they have some of the same qualities, I think, as feists. So I wonder about it a little bit. Yeah.
I know. I always question every bear that scruff trees in front of the hounds. I always wonder, would I have treated without scruff? Would the hounds eventually have made up that 500-600 yards and caught up, or because scruff just like he's a streak when he goes past them. He flies. And another thing I think helps him out is he's silent. When he's running, he's mostly silent, so he just all of a sudden shows up with that bear. And then, of course, then he's mouthy. He barks then. But.
Right. I wonder if there's an aspect of surprise to it as well. I wonder. Because, like Alex's dogs, too, are pretty quiet until they're pretty... Yeah, until they're on top of it. Because I know, like with Fox here, that's definitely an aspect of it. If you have a dog that opens up early on a track, like a plot, most of the time that fox is going to stay on above ground for hours, which is a quality that I kind of liked with the plots hunting fox, because I like having as many opportunities as I can to shoot it above the ground. While it's moving, because when it dens, you have to have a terrier, which I have not had, or you need to be, even if you have a terrier, especially if you have a terrier, you need to be ready to dig, to get that fox out, and most, in some cases, get your terrier out as well. But I have a Russian hound. And when he was doing his thing, he would stay totally silent until he could more or less see the fox. And so they had no idea he was there. And he's this big, long-legged dog. And he would suddenly open up, and it would, 2-3 minutes, and it would go to ground. That dog, I dropped him 32 times in his yearling year. In a row. I dropped him more than that in his yearling year, but I had 32 drops in a row where of those 32 drops, he denned 29 times. Okay. And the longest run he had was 42 minutes. And that was the longest run he had by a full 30 minutes.
Oh, man. Okay.
He was totally silent, and then he would explode, and the fox would fully panic and go to the first and best den. Whereas for the plots, they'd stay, 6-7 hours above ground, just kind of because they knew where they had them all the time. They'd take breaks and let them get close and then streak off, and the plots are a little slower anyway. So they had full control of the plots, but that initial shock was enough to just totally throw them off their game, and they would den immediately.
Well, that makes sense then with what so my good friend, my buddy that actually is letting me living in his cabin right now, he has beagles and rabbit with him.
Hmm.
Got a really good solid pack of
Mm-hmm.
beagles. But I took I always let Scruff ride on whatever we do. So I was letting him go with us while we was rabbit hunting, and realized that we didn't put two and two together for a little bit, but every time that Scruff would get on the rabbit, we would immediately he'd go to a hole or a brush pile, and we finally
Hmm.
realized that's what was happening. Basically, Scruff would and he would either
Okay.
catch the rabbit, either catch it on the ground, or it would go in a hole, and we never. Like you said, we'd have 5 minute chases. There was no. The poor beagles didn't even play a part in it anymore.
Right.
So needless to say,
Right.
Scruff isn't allowed to go rabbit hunting anymore.
He's been banned from the old rabbit
Oh,
briars. Yeah.
the fun out of it.
That that's funny. So yeah, I'm yeah, that's interesting. I wonder.
I know it opens up a whole can of worms.
A whole can of worms. Suddenly I don't have enough dogs. Yeah. Huh. That's really interesting. Yeah. The
Yeah,
maybe there's an aspect of both things, both size and also with the bigger game, and then sort of abruptness with these other things. Because like the beagle I was talking about earlier, the treat the great big bear. I mean, she's. I'll have to ask for some more information on her, how she is, whether she opens up like most beagles do pretty early, or whether she was kind of quiet and opened up a little bit late. Whether it maybe has more to do with the style of how babbly they are versus more so than size, maybe.
I don't. It's something. There's something. We had. I mean, this is turning into the Scruff show, I reckon. But I walked into. I had a bear going. I don't know. The other day, run it with my hounds. Run it all day long. I mean, it was getting up into the evening. And when I say run it, they only ran it probably a mile, and then they caught it and just walked with it. And it was in the country. I couldn't. I was struggling getting into them. And finally, later that evening, they finally picked a creek, and the bear was just walking right down the creek, and it was a nice bear. Really, I say nice bear. He was, for us, it was nice. He was probably pushing 300 pounds. So I walk in there just with the intention of catching the dogs off. I get in there like 100 yards from it, just where you can about start seeing it, and Scruff goes flying in there, and that bear hadn't been up a tree all day long. And as soon as Scruff get in there, boom, he just pops right up on the tree. Well, at the same time,
Wow.
he did, when I got in there close to him and was getting ready to catch the hounds, he did bail back out, you know. But he went a little bit farther, and we was able, to get the hounds when they caught him in the creek again. But still, that was just amazing how all day long my hounds, and I mean, I ain't gonna say they're the grittiest ever, but they put pressure on bear, But it's something about that little dog when he comes flying in there. I don't know. It made like that was a nice bear, and he hopped up on the tree for probably 5 minutes. He was just hanging on the side, but he did. He climbed up just for a few minutes. And that was the only, all day long, the only difference in that scenario was Scruff had just got in there. So something, I don't know what it was.
Wow. That is interesting. That is really interesting. Huh. That is interesting. How, I mean, do you always have Scruff with you? I mean, you've been hunting way longer than Scruff's been alive.
Right.
So, I mean, your hounds are super solid.
They can typically tree a bear without Scruff, yeah.
Right. Just just to give credit where credit's due here. I mean, Scruff's awesome, but your hounds aren't exactly slouches either. You know?
They get lucky once in a while on tree.
They get lucky. When the feist isn't with them, they can still
and down.
even.
I mean, I don't know if it's just the pride in me in them or what, but I feel like most of these bear I would have treed anyway. I think most of them, but it probably wouldn't have been near as fast. I will admit to that. Yeah, and maybe some of them I wouldn't treat. I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's an impossible thing it's impossible to say, but at the same time, you know, it sounds like most of the time, when, you know, you do get Scruff in there, it's, you know, your hounds are already putting quite a bit of pressure on the bear already. So, you know, that bear might just be looking for an excuse to that little bit of extra incentive to just bail out or bail up.
I believe that. And to give, I mean, most of the time when Scruff has his opportunity, it is after the bear's done been ran for a little bit. You know, he's done went through them stages of that, you know, going a couple miles, whatever the case. You know, he's at that stage where he's either going to tree or he's not. And then so Scruff runs in there and usually, hopefully, that makes him tree.
Sure.
But I would admit, me, my uncle, the 3, 4, 5 of us that hunt together, when we watch on the GPS and Scruff turns around and comes back, you know, usually usually the saying is now is, well, our day just got pretty long.
Okay. Gotcha. It's interesting. You know, it's a lot of us just run our hounds. You know, we don't have the, you know, over here you've got sort of this innate sense that you need more than just the hounds.
Okay.
You know, you need the den dog. You can't successfully hunt fox without a den dog.
Right.
I mean, that's hard to do. You know, you can get quite a few of them, but, you know, at the same time, you know, if you want to get twice the number that you're getting, you need a den dog. You know, I talked to Paul Wilson a couple weeks ago, and, you know, such a huge part of what they do with the sort of traditional English mounted hunts for fox, you know, the horses are just they're an essential aspect to that whole thing, you know, and it's not that long ago where, you know, there were definitely guys getting out there on foot and doing their things, but where, you know, you had other animals that were sort of key aspects of the hunt, you know, and I wonder a little bit about it sometimes, whether we've lost a little bit of I won't say focus, but lost sight of the benefits of what some of these other, you know, breeds of dog or types of animal can actually bring to, you know, what they bring to the table, like, you know, like Scruff, or like, you know, your big white mule, you know, it makes me wonder sometimes.
Yeah, I feel 100%, you know, without my mules. I think I would probably still tree as many or a lot of bear without Scruff. My pride makes me say that I think I would tree as many bear, but it is so interesting when you add them other elements in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. That is interesting stuff. Yeah. Now my mind is blown. Now I'm off in like mule feist world. I'm like, I wonder if anybody breeds feists over here in Norway. I don't think they do.
It's interesting. I know I've said this a couple times, but I never thought I would be taking a feist to actually contribute to a bear hunt. And honestly, I
Right.
still don't take him specifically to contribute, but it's just he's done jumped in the little role he plays, and it don't there's no downside to it because, like I say, he either comes back, or if he does, I don't really worry about him too much. I probably should worry maybe a little bit more, but he can take care of himself. And there's, which my hounds handle pretty good too, but he handles like a dream. So,
Right.
there's no downside to it.
Right. Interesting.
But
Have you had any hound litters in the last year or so?
so, I haven't had any. Well, I say that I went out. I noticed. Right. So the first week in August, I had a female in heat. And I couldn't hunt her for, I think, the first and second week. But I had her by herself, scruffy. I knew he wasn't, nothing. But anyway, so after a heat cycle, I put her back in the woods, started hunting her again. And I noticed a couple weeks ago, she just wasn't running just right. And I almost took her to the vet. I thought something was wrong with her. And then I noticed she was starting to bag down a little bit in her belly. So, yes, I went out a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, and she had 5 puppies in her doghouse with her. So I do have a litter of, I'm assuming it's hound pups, but I do not know where them rascals come from.
Right.
I feel pretty confident in that. But somehow something has slipped in the door, and I don't know. I have no idea. So yes, I do have a litter of hound puppies right now.
You do have a litter of hound puppies right now. That's interesting. That's funny.
So
interesting. Wow.
I'm kind of puppy poor right now because I say puppy poor. I got 2. I do have. I have a little English pup right now, 4 months old, and it goes back to the line that I have, which is, I'm not real up to the actual breeds. I mean, to the actual the English line, but it goes back to a lot of hard time stuff. So anyway, I did accept a puppy from a guy. So I do have that puppy, and then I got a little plot puppy. I've got some blood that's outside of mine that I'm getting ready to start playing around with just to see what's out there.
Cool. What made you want to try the plot?
The plot was a, what do you call it? A message I got that was asking if Easton would accept a puppy. So I mean, I either turn into the bad dad of telling my son that he can't have a puppy, or which
I've been there.
Exactly. So, but I was kind of, I do have English hounds. That's mostly what I have, and I hunt right now. But I've always had a special place in my heart for plots, because a plot is what originally taught me how to hunt. So,
okay, fair enough.
So yeah, I've always had, and I've hunted a few plots over the years, and always had really good luck with them. Which in our what would you call it, neck of the woods, Pocahontas plots is pretty. There's a lot of them around here, so I've had a few Pocahontas plots, and they've, I've had really good luck with them.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha. How old is that pup?
This pup is actually do you say Weems? Weems bred?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so it's actually a Weems bred pup. So I'm totally stepping in the dark as far as the line of plots, but it's, I think, 12 weeks old right now.
Okay, it's just a baby.
Yeah, a little male.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool. And he's is your son all psyched about it? Does he know it's his, or is it kind of like you're gonna hold?
He knows, which, Easton is used to puppies because we've had piles of puppies around here, but he's still got that boy love. He loves every single puppy and don't want to get rid of any puppies. So
No, that's yeah. I know how that goes. I know how that goes. Held on to dogs that just would never ever have lasted if they were quote unquote my dogs.
Exactly.
Ugh, you add the kids, and it's so awesome in so many ways. But then it's like that world beater.
Oh yeah.
Take the world by storm. That's never going to be the dog your kid gets. Your kid's going to always get that sort of, cross-eyed, wonky headed sort of weirdo. At least that's been my experience.
The luckiest thing I ever did was when I got Easton Scruff, because Scruff is technically Easton's. So, that was the best one that's ever worked out. And I probably used all my luck up on that one.
Oh, well, let's hope not. Let's hope this, that's a well-bred pup you've got there. So let's hope this little plot pup turns out to be the next wave of the future for you. That'd be exciting.
I don't mind. For Easton, Easton has been to so many bear trees. And he's around the bear hunting culture so much that he don't. The excitement that I felt when I was this youngster, when I was this 10-year-old boy going into a tree, Easton is kind of, he's done been to so many. What am I trying to say? He's done been to so many that just the awe and the wonder of going to a bear tree isn't what it was when I was young. Because I didn't get to see many bears when I was young. If I seen 3-4 a year, I was lucky.
Right. Yeah, the novelty's worn off a little bit.
So, him appreciating these puppies and working with the dogs, I love that. That I'll do whatever to keep that there.
Oh yeah, yep. No, I get that. I just got another pup like a month ago.
Okay.
From Eric Bartolo. Over in Sweden. I've talked about him on the podcast a whole bunch of times. His dogs, and talked about his dogs. I finally went over there and got this pup. Vida is her name, and it's, you can never tell with a little pup, but she's got all these little qualities of like little things you like to see that don't necessarily mean anything, but just kind of give you a good feeling. And she's got a lot of the qualities that I like to see, which is fun, because the last pup we got here, that didn't really work out.
I know what you mean.
Oh my God, that just ended up being that ended up being the biggest. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but that ended up being the biggest just pain in the butt. Ended up moving that pup along, and then it came back a week later with this big old rock in its guts, so I had to operate the dog middle of the night on a weekend, of course. And first thing he does when he gets home is wakes up, and I take him outside. He grabs another rock. I need to he's still half drunk from the anesthetic. I'm dragging rock out of his throat. I'm like, my gosh, if this dog lives in a week, it's going to be a miracle. So yeah, no, not higher hopes for this newer puppy. She's been here a whole month and hasn't tried to kill herself once. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. So yeah, but all right, George, I really appreciate you coming on. It's like 12:30 here at night, and I've got another moose to break down.
I got you
tomorrow, so I'm gonna let you go. But I appreciate you coming on again. I'm glad to hear you guys found a good, safe place, safe haven for a while. I hope keep us posted when you find a new place, I'm sure it's just a matter of time before that perfect place just suddenly pops up and every last little bricks fall into place.
Exactly.
I think. Yep. So, well, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Alrighty, Bear. Well, I sure do appreciate it.
Oh, anytime.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you later then.
Sounds good. Bye bye.
Man, I love that sound.